Are you ready for a change? Are you ready for your life to turn around? Are you ready for things to happen to bring you great success, to see your dreams and visions come to pass? Then you are at the right place at the right time, listening to the Julie Tussey Show podcast. Welcome. And while you're here, please subscribe and leave us a good review. Also, let your friends and family know about the Julie Tussey Show. So many women are reaching out to me and asking why my skin is looking younger and younger. Well, I started on my Neora journey 3 months ago, and I have to tell you, I'm calling this a facelift in a bottle. If you'd like to get your skincare set today, visit julietussey.neora.com. That's julietussey.neora.com. You can also reach out to me at thisgracegirllife@gmail.com with any questions and inquiries. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Julie Tussey Show and the Grace Girls and Company podcast. I am so excited to be with you. I am your hostess, Julie Tussey. That's right. I am so glad to be here with you today. Now, I have a special guest in the studio via telephone today, and we are going to be talking about an awesome thing. It kind of plays on the last episode that I did where I'm talking about it's time to become a powerhouse, time to reset. And that is Heather Robertson of Half Size Me. The podcast and the .com is coming on to do an interview. And so I'm going to play you this little snippet. She does morning videos. They're about 5 minutes long, almost every morning of the week. And it's about getting our lives in order when it comes to our weight, how to lose weight. She's lost 170 pounds and kept it off. She has built a wonderful community called Half Size Me. And it is fabulous. But she got on and she was talking about how 3/4 of the year has gone by. COVID is not going anywhere real fast. And now what can we do to take control of our lives? And I quote her, "We always have a choice, and today I'm going to talk to you about making a plan to begin taking action to make 2021 a better year by what you do today. Let's start to prioritize your health and get your weight under control. If you need more help on your journey, please join her at halfsizeme.com. I'm telling you, this woman is amazing. So I want you to hear this little excerpt from her Facebook post where she did a video, and then we're going to come in and talk after that. Here we go.
All right, so this message is from my heart, and I hope you hear this. Let's get back to it. COVID's hanging around. This new normal is hanging around. I, like you, was shaken when all of this went down. I took a maintenance break back in March and April. I go back through my weight charts and I can see where it just went flat. And I chose to take a maintenance break. Totally get it. We were all kind of reeling with what was happening and trying to figure things out. And of course, panic set in. People bought all the toilet paper known to man, and the hand sanitizer was run amok, right? We were all there. And then it continued. And it continued. And at some point, you've got to say, I have choice. I can continue to eat, say, you know, this is how I'm choosing to deal with it. I'm going to drink. This is how I'm choosing to deal with it. And what's the point, or whatever the negative thing is that you're saying to yourself. Or you can say, you know, apparently we're going to be in this for a while. You know, they'll come out with a vaccine. We'll have to establish this new normal where kids are maybe going to school, virtually going to school, where I'm working from home remotely indefinitely for a while. You know, we're wearing masks everywhere, all this good business. But here's the thing. If COVID taught us nothing, it has taught me for sure that human life, when your health is in jeopardy, when you could be extremely sick and or die, life as you know it ceases to exist, okay? And That can be something like a pandemic on a huge level, or it can be a personal situation. You know, as your weight has been climbing maybe with this pandemic situation, you've been eating to cope with emotions. I get where that's coming from. It's this thing of, how do I settle into this? How do I treat this like my new normal? It just is. You're going to have to accept that. This is the new normal. This is where we all are. And after that couple months of maintenance for myself, I kind of saw it getting in that direction. Like, this isn't something we're just going to poof be done with. This is going to be here for a while. And I went back to my weight loss mode. And my weight's been trickling down. You can do this. The good thing at this point is everything's kind of been restocked. I mean, we got toilet paper again. Going to the grocery store is not as much of a nightmare. Most places, some things are open, even if it's in limited ability. So even though I know this doesn't look exactly like it did before March of 2020, it is getting slightly better, and you have more available to you. So what we want to do now is say, okay, I got a couple months left of 2020. Let me start to prioritize my health. Let me start to put, better eating windows in. Let me start trying to eat more fruits and vegetables. Let me focus on getting back to my weight loss goals, because this isn't going to end. And let's just say we roll into 2021 and it's looking the exact same way. You don't want your weight keep creeping up and up and up and up. And I know there's voices out there that'll tell you it's okay to cope with food. It's okay to do this stuff. Really, it's not. Like, I've been 300 plus pounds. I know the gravity of that amount of weight on your body and how it feels. You deserve to feel good in your body. And it doesn't also mean you have to be 120 pounds like you were back in high school. It does mean, however, that you need to start to treat how you're feeding your body with great responsibility and care, the way that a parent would feed their child. And start to think about, how do you want to roll up on 2021? And you may not be where you were at the beginning of this year. Maybe you've put on, I'd say the average person, it's anywhere from 10 to 30 pounds. Maybe you put on the COVID 10 to 30 pounds. Well, it doesn't mean it has to stay there. And it doesn't mean that going into the next year you can't have made progress on it. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. I tell my kids all the time, you can't always handpick what situation you're in, but you definitely can handpick how you think about it and the actions you choose to take as an individual. That's where all of your control is. I am here to help you. I've been turning out videos constantly to work on your mindset. I'm just asking you to take action. Do something. Turn this around for yourself. I would love to see you walk away from 2020 feeling like, yeah, it knocked me square in the face. I was down and out for a little while, just like everyone else, right? And now I chose to get my butt back up off the ground, dust myself off, and I chose to move forward. And that's what I'm going to encourage you. I'm extending a hand to you. Please move forward with me on this. Take care of yourself. Because, again, I just have to highlight this. Out of all the things on the CDC webpage that are high-risk factors with COVID, one of them is obesity. I mean, it's right there. Obesity. It's like we have a thing in our face that really should prompt us to want to get that under control. So just want to kind of remind you here, let's move you in a positive direction. Let's make 2021 awesome, and let's start today. All right, you guys have a great day. Please like and subscribe to me on YouTube, share my videos, and let me know how I can better serve you. Take care of yourself.
We'll be right back after these important messages. After a week of hearing hundreds of I can'ts, I'm here today to tell you, you can. Find us on social media at facebook.com/The Julie Tussey Show and Instagram, The Julie Tussey Show, home of the original Suburban Bombshell. I want to take a minute to say thank you so much to our supporters, underwriters, sponsors, those of you that give to our nonprofit corporation, The Voice Incorporated. If you'd like to partner or give a one-time offering today, please go to TusseyOnline.com and look for the donate button. You can also give at the Cash App. That's the cash symbol sign with The Voice INC, and on Venmo, The Voice INC. Only on the Julie Tussey Show are you going to hear that you are not created to be ordinary but extraordinary. You are not created to be common but uncommon. You are not created to be average but above average. You are not created to be tolerable or passable. No, but you are created to be remarkable, noteworthy, impressive, striking, outstanding, brilliant, excellent, superb, praiseworthy. We could go on and on about how awesome you are. For those of you asking to get my fabulous skincare, which is like a facelift in a bottle, you can go to julietussey.neora.com. And now, back to the Julie Tussey Show. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening to that crazy bunch of information that you just got. But was the recording not amazing? So right now, in the studio, wink, wink, via the phone, I do have Heather Robertson with me. Heather, how are you today?
I am doing really well. We got our very first little bit of fall weather in this week in Florida, so it was like the first time we've actually felt some coolness, so I'm excited about that.
I love fall weather. It's my favorite time of the year. I can't help it. I just run too hot all the rest of the time, and the winter's too cold.
Right.
But you must get really hot down there in Florida.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I go through usually at least two different shirts a day because I'm outside a lot. I walk to record my videos. I walk to coach my clients. I walk a lot. So, out in this heat, I go through outfit 1, outfit 2, multiple showers. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I'm telling you, I need to get as fit as you because I could make the walking podcast with you.
Ooh, that would be fun.
Yeah, the problem is I can't breathe.
The huffing and puffing might confuse the listeners, right?
Thank you for joining me.
What kind of podcast is this I'm listening to?
Exactly. But, well, I love what you're doing with Half Size Me. So for those new listeners who may not have heard you because you're kind of a regular on the Julie Tussey Show, thank you so much. Those who haven't heard of you before, maybe introduce yourself a little bit, if you would, so that they know the amazing, wonderful, and accomplished woman they're listening to.
Wow. Well, bring her on. No, just kidding. Me in a nutshell, I had struggled with obesity and weight issues since I was about 8 to 9 years of age. I was an obese, overweight teen, did my fair share, probably about a good decade or so of yo-yo dieting, losing weight, regaining it, struggling with binge eating issues. And then when I got pregnant at 30 with my first son, I decided I wanted to make a difference, not just for me, but if you ever listen to Dave Ramsey talks about your financial family tree, I wanted to change my family's health family tree as well. And so I decided that I needed to get healthy. I was over 300 pounds, and I wanted my kids to have a different future than what I had. My husband also had struggled with his weight, so we both knew the pain of being overweight and obese kids and what all that entails, and we didn't want our kids we wanted to do our best to avoid it as much as possible. I mean, you can't control certain aspects, but within our power of control. And so I made a decision when he was born that I was going to find a way to lose weight, but only doing things I would be willing to do forever. I had done years of just really extreme diets and crazy things to lose weight, and they all worked for the short term, as I'm sure a good amount of your listeners have experienced themselves. But then when you go back to eating the way you did before, because it's not sustainable, you gain it all back. So I literally focused on one habit change after another habit change, and the weight came off slowly. I had 2 more pregnancies, but I lost a grand total of 170 pounds in 5 years.
Wow.
And then
Wait. Yes, we must applaud that. That is amazing.
Thank
I think
you.
I've lost that much too, but just at 10 pounds on and 10 pounds off.
Right. And then, really to me, because I had yo-yo dieted so much, I was used to losing weight. I had actually gotten down to a what would be considered normal weight for me in high school, doing, again, starvation type diets.
Yeah.
But I never was able to keep it off, right? Like that. And I'm sure, again, most of your listeners have had that experience. January 1st, they decide they're going to lose weight. They do something, and then they maybe do lose weight. But then do they keep it off year after year after year? And that was really the thing. Like, I wanted to keep the weight off. And it really was less about hitting a specific goal weight. It was more about doing something that allowed me to enjoy my life, to be active, to be physically fit, but to not regain it all back. So it has now been 2012, I think, was when I got to kind of my goal range, and I've been maintaining it since then. So for me personally, that is where I take a lot of my personal pride and feeling of accomplishment, because it's one thing to lose it. It's another thing to keep it off for 8 years, right?
Yeah.
And so that for me has been a big deal. And really what it comes down to at the end of the day, and this is kind of what I've learned, I'm going to tell you the secret, Julie.
Tell me.
The secret is it's not a list of approved foods.
Yeah.
It's not a specific way of tracking your food. It's not anything that they're going to throw on a book cover. Really what it comes down to is being wildly consistent over time.
Yeah.
It is being willing to get up every single day and do a handful of actions that produce results over time. And that is where most people break down, right? They do it for a few days or even for a few weeks, but the consistency month in, month out, year in, year out, that's where the breakdown happens. And so if I could just deliver one message to everybody, this is going to take a hell of a lot longer than you think it's going to take.
Yeah, right.
And you have to be consistent through the whole process, even when you don't get results on the scale. And that, I would say, for most females, I can't speak for males, but most females is probably why a good 75-80% of them quit prematurely, because they're doing the actions, but the scale's not reflecting the change.
Yes.
And so, and that's a hard pill to swallow, but the reality is the scale can fluctuate a lot.
Yeah.
You have to be wildly consistent. And it's not fair, and I'm very sorry that it is that way, but that's how you get where you want to be. It's being wildly consistent with those handful of behaviors over time that work to move your weight in the right direction. And so that's, in all honesty, that's what I've learned. And people are like, well, what about being accurate? What about this? What about that? No, it's really consistency. Consistency over accuracy, actually.
Wow.
And that's a little bit of a mind blower too, because a lot of people, again, they put their perfectionism ahead of consistency, right?
Right.
Well, if I don't know what's in that meal at the restaurant, I'm not tracking that because I don't know what's in it. Well, it'd be better to take some kind of a guess
Yeah.
and put something in there versus skip the day of tracking. And
Yes.
that's what I mean about consistency. Finding how you can, not how you can't. That's a big one. Ask yourself that question every day. Maybe these opportunities have been taken away from you, or something has been stacked, quote unquote, against you, but what can I do? Not what I can't do, what can I do? And that kind of became my personal mantra through this whole thing. Okay, COVID happened, what can I do? It was always those questions, because if we always turn our brain to finding action steps that empower us and move us forward, we'll get somewhere. But as long as we stay trapped in the woe is me thing, right, no matter how bad the situation is, you will never get an improvement in your life situation. It's only going to come if you say, what can I do? If you empower yourself.
Oh, I love that. I was just talking on my last podcast about how we need to take our power back, because I was basically talking about the same thing you were talking about on this little excerpt that we played about. Okay, it's time. We've done 3/4 of the year with all of this. Now some people are calling it the Cove. With the Cove, and not to belittle it, because it's been really bad for some people and caused pain and heartache, and we're praying for those people, but we must go forward. And I don't want to go into 2021 living like I've been living in 2020, or I guess I should say living like some people have been living, because I've really purposed to be a powerhouse in 2020 and to make this a defining moment. And I had to consciously make that effort and that decision, and then follow it up with discipline, because it'd be so easy to have laid on the couch and eaten bonbons.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
And I love watching what you're doing. And so when I heard this, it resonated with me so much because even though I have purpose to really work on this, I've noticed that my weight will go up 5 and then down 5 and up 5 instead of having any kind of a forward motion and losing. And I didn't tell you this, I don't think the listeners know, but last fall they decided I had a low thyroid issue. And so they put me on thyroid medicine and I gained half of my weight back in 4 months that I had lost the 24 pounds. It took me 2 years, 3 years, 5,000 years. But
at least you got it diagnosed, which is a good thing to know that you had that issue.
Yes, but they were wrong. They
were?
Yes, I ended up going through some major testing with a different scenario, more of a holistic endro. You know what I'm saying? Those doctors that check all that fine hormone stuff. And it really it's my adrenal glands from stress in life, So I'm working on fixing that, and I lost a few pounds, but I'm saying that I said that all because I wanted your compassion.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting. I'm so glad you mentioned that. So I have a friend who has lupus. And she had gone through all conventional medicine and was running up against a wall constantly. She was always like the symptoms were being diagnosed and she was getting treatment. But the medication got extremely expensive for her. It had a lot of negative side effects. So she finally went to like one of these more naturopath type doctors.
Yes.
And they said similar things, adrenal glands. Well, anyway, it was amazing to watch this. This is somebody I know in my personal life, has nothing to do with half size me, just a friend that I know. And she lost, I think it was like 25 or 30 pounds. It was the most weight I'd ever seen her lose, eating kind of like what he had recommended for her to really help with the adrenals, with the lupus. And she ended up getting off almost all the medication. It was a really amazing transformation.
Yes.
And I had never really given it any thought. Like, I really never delved into it. I always think of traditional Western medicine,
Yes.
But having seen that firsthand example, I would not hesitate to send somebody that direction now, having seen it with my own eyes. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I'm in the middle of that journey. I had done that years and years ago. And when, Heather, when you go to the doctor over and over and over and you can't lose weight and you feel like you're hitting your head against the wall because every test is quote unquote normal, but you don't feel well. And traditional medicine isn't working. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to go. And just give a shout out to Dr. Shannon Pierce at Mill Pond Wellness in Lexington, Kentucky. She's who I'm working with, and they're amazing. And
awesome.
It's I guess it'll be 6 months. I've lost just maybe a couple of pounds, but to go back to our point, of course, that's amazing. So if you're in that place, please reach out to Dr. Shannon. You can do everything on the computer now, all your health things and everything. So it was really, really cool journey, which I'm going to do a podcast on with her soon. But
awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really great. The thing that I found, though, Heather, and that I guess that why this Let's Get Back to It resonated with me is because I am doing the things through the Cove. I'm doing the things, and I still could see my weight trying to go up. I can't go to the gym, and I'm dealing with fatigue sometimes, so I wasn't exercising as much and things like that. So if we're having trouble that way, it's so easy to wear on your mind and on your attitude, and then it affects your behavior, and before you know it, you're just on the couch eating the bonbons. So what can we do, Heather, to turn this around? What I know what you say, but I want you to tell the listeners what we can do to get better for 2021.
Right, and well, there's so many facets to this. So the first one is on a very practical level. What I'm seeing across the board for all women, especially 40-plus women, ages 40-plus, is this whole COVID, working remotely, educating your kids from home, things being shut down for as long as they have. there truly is a decline in your physical movement, whether you realize it or not, right? Like I have a lot of clients who are rolling out of bed, shuffling 5 feet away to their computer station and sitting. And they're like, why am I having to eat so low to be able to see weight loss when before I was eating this and seeing good weight loss? And they've got proof of it. Like they can go back in their MyFitnessPal, they can go back to their weight loss tracker, they can see where they were eating a lot more at one point and they were actually losing weight. And what you have to remember is while traditional exercise, going to the gym, doing a workout, CrossFit, whatever, those are great. I don't want to undermine those. But really, if we're talking about where is the majority of a woman's or person's significant calorie burn through the day coming from, is what they refer to as like NEAT. It's that non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And I have seen this across the board, that a client who maybe could have been eating 1,800 calories a day, maybe she's having to drop it back down to 1,500 to get the same level of results because she's just not moving as much as she was. And that really adds up through the day. So that's a very like more practical thing that we all need to keep in mind. Unless you're forcing yourself to get out of your house. I have some clients will tell me that I haven't seen the sun all day. Like literally, I've not left my house. Yeah.
You don't even realize you're just in there hibernating.
Yeah, like where are you going to go? What are you going to do, right? So unless you make a concerted effort to say every hour on the hour or every couple hours, I'm going to get out of this chair, I'm going to walk the dog around the block a couple times, like you literally intentionally put it in, because when you went to work, you could have parked far out and walked into the building and walked around to socialize with your friends and gone to lunch with your friends. Like all that movement counts through the day. Yeah. And when we don't get it, we're just literally sitting in the same chair in the same four walls, it doesn't provide that opportunity. So you have to we're in a kind of an artificial scenario right now. This isn't how our lives would normally look. So you're going to probably have to do some artificial things to bring in more intentional movement is what I'm trying to say.
That's good.
So that would be number one. So if we're talking about why might people be struggling, they're just not moving their bodies enough or really at all. And then if we're thinking about this mental mind shift, right?
Yeah.
While I know it would be easy to do the woe is me, this sucks, I need to kind of self-medicate and deal with my emotions with food, the reality is at some point, somebody will find a vaccine for this. Things will start to get more back to normal, and you have a choice. Even if you're at a weight you don't like, okay?
Right.
It would be better for you to intentionally maintain that weight you don't like versus being defeated, laying on the couch eating bonbons, waking up when this whole thing is over, another 30 pounds heavier, because guess what? As hard as it is to come down from whatever weight you currently are, it's going to be 30 pounds more hard when this is all said and done, right?
Right.
And if we really look at the grand scheme of this thing, if nothing else, what COVID should have taught everyone is when your health is in jeopardy, literally everything else stops.
Exactly.
Literally. In this case, literally everything else stops, right? We shut down everything. We went to full-on quarantine lockdown. When you look at the CDC's breakdown of what the high-risk factors are, obesity is the only one that's on there that we really have some level of control over.
Right.
And if you are thinking about your long-term health and life, this should make you want to fight back, right? You should want to preserve health. So all of those factors, like if we're really stopping to think about this, you have to say, what do I want my life to look like? I don't want to fight. And this is a lot of groupthink, right? We get caught up in what's being said in media, social media, the quarantine 15, and we give ourselves excuses out of our responsibility. But the reality is you can go with the crowd on that, or you can stand up and say, no, I don't want to be that. I want to come out of this. Even if I'm at a weight I don't like, I'm going to be actively maintaining it. Yes. So as we get back to normal, I can then really start to maybe work on my weight if I'm in a better mental health space or in a position where I physically can. But I'm not going to just gain more and more weight and put myself behind the 8 ball. So these are just some thoughts. Now, I don't know if I answered your question the way you wanted me to.
Yes, that's awesome. Basically, we have to get a different mindset and do some different things if we want a different result.
Absolutely.
And I love what you say. I'm always preaching this from my soapbox, but to not make a choice has made a choice. You've made a choice. So you might as well make a better choice, because either way you're making choice.
Right. And ask yourself, just because this is what other people are doing, is that what I want? It really needs to be a value-based thing, right? You need to know your values, what's important to you, and decide for yourself. But unfortunately, because we are stuck at home, and for a lot of us, maybe the only real connection we've had through this whole thing is through the media, right? We tend to kind of almost get brainwashed in a negative way, where we feel defeated. We feel like a victim. We feel like we have nothing, no choice or anything, or like we're destined to gain this weight. No, I mean, I've actually been proactively losing weight during COVID, because I luckily leaned into the community before it happened. And I wanted to work that, but I took a hiatus for 2 months, March and April. I plateaued, I maintained intentionally, because it threw me off too, right? Like, I mean, this was massive for all of us.
Huge.
But then I made a decision after April, and I said, do I want to sacrifice the rest of this year not meeting my goals because of something I had no control over? I don't have control over COVID. I don't control over a vaccine. But what I do have control over is what I put in my mouth. Reaching out to the Half Size Me community, showing up every Sunday with my weight check-ins, showing up in my journal. Those things I control. And believe it or not, I've actually felt so much better and so much more empowered doing what is within my control and not fixating on what's outside of my control.
I love that. I love that. I love the word empowered too, because I think that we can begin to feel like a victim. And I was talking about this on my last podcast. And when you're a victim, you never make good choices. You never accomplish anything. You never can make your life go anywhere, because you're always a victim and you're at the mercy of someone or something else.
Absolutely. It's the difference between reacting versus responding, right?
Exactly.
We were all in a very reactive position when all this happened. I mean, think about it. Like, literally overnight, schools closed down, libraries closed down. Like, the world that we knew shut down. Shopping. Yeah. Everything. I mean, we lost toilet paper, for God's sake. I mean, like, it felt like the end of the world, right? Quite literally. And so, a lot of us were reacting. I remember my husband going, buy all the cans of chicken you can find. They're going to have like a shortage on meat. I'm sitting there chucking cans of chicken that we never even eat, right? Like into the cart.
Just in case.
We're all reacting, right? Like I've heard this from a lot of my clients. Oh my gosh, I cleared the shelves and got all the junk food when this whole thing first went down, because I was desperately afraid food was going to be affected, right?
Yes, exactly.
So we all reacted to that. And that's a normal human response. You don't beat yourself up for that. I had somebody actually submit a question for tonight's live community webinar. She said, I gained 8 or 10 pounds through COVID because when it first happened, I was making cookies and baking loaves of bread. Because what is she trying to do? She's trying to comfort herself, right? And then she turned it around, Julie. She actually lost the weight. She's like, but I'm having a hard time giving myself the kudos for that, or saying what I did a good job when I really should never have gained it to begin with. And my response to that is, you're human. Like, it's to say that you're not going to have a reactive response to the world shutting down is not realistic. You are. And like I said, for me personally, I took a hiatus from my goals for a couple months. Everybody, I think, was in like this shock and awe phase.
Yes.
But you have a choice. We're past shock and awe.
Yeah, we are.
You can stay there and use that as a crutch, or you can say, you know what? Yeah, I lost a couple months. Yeah, I gained a little bit of weight. Whatever happened, happened. That was a life-altering moment that will go down in history books, and my kids and grandkids will be talking about it pretty much to their kids and grandkids. I mean, like, it's going to be one of those, Great Depression story kind of things, right?
Yeah.
And you can say that this happened, and it makes you a stronger, more resilient human being. And now you're going to take back your power. You're going to say, okay, so life is not 100% back to normal. That's fine. But I see 2021 coming, and I want to be my best for this new year coming in. I'm not going to let 2020 take an entire year from me. I'm not. That's kind of my mindset. I'm like, I can't control all this external stuff that happened. So within my home and within my life, what do I have control over? And I chose this year to pay off our home. We didn't spend any money because of COVID, so it was a lot easier to do that. And I managed to get back to the low end of my goal weight after I took that 2-month hiatus. And it was all because I was like, there's so much I can't control in this world right now, but I want to make my family's life as best I can based on the abilities and tools I have. And that's where I would encourage everybody to think about. Finish 2020, put your own stamp on it. Say, you know what? Yeah, this year might have started, it might have sucked royally.
Right.
But by the end of it, I chose to take back my life. I chose to take action on my goals. And to say that, 2020 might not have started the way I wanted, and it maybe doesn't even end the way you wanted to, but you can take some power back and roll into 2021 feeling empowered and more in control of yourself.
That's right. That's awesome. What a great point. That's why I caught the line in your in the video audio that we played in the beginning. It said, let's get back to it.
Right, yeah, because a lot of us have a hard time. We have a hard time switching gears, right?
Yeah.
Like it was hard to switch gears to everything being shut down and being in quarantine, right? We all reacted to that, but it's almost like because there's not been a big epiphany to things going back to quote unquote normal. We're kind of in this malaise. It's like this like we're in two worlds, right? We're kind of still half of our foot's in the COVID world, and half of our foot is in the I'm trying to return to normal world, and everything is very like uncertain. Like even Halloween, I don't know about you, but in our area, they're like, are they doing Halloween or is Halloween not happening?
Like things
and
just
it's like
were.
All these question marks,
They're
with all this uncertainty, right? And when there's uncertainty, people don't like that. They don't. No. And so what you say is, okay, whether we have Halloween or not, outside of my control. Whether we're supposed to be social distancing for Thanksgiving or Christmas, outside of my control. What goals do I have for myself?
Right.
What goals do I have for my family? What within these four walls can I take action on? Because if you're waiting for the government to save you, you're waiting for society to run in and fix things, that's not going to happen.
No.
So you're the captain of your ship. You get to decide. And I say finish out 2020 strong and roll up into 2021 ready to crush whatever it is you want to crush. But if you come into it weak from 2020 and you're still feeling like you're waiting for people to direct you, you're never going to get where you want to be.
It might be 2022 before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I have clients. I don't know if you've heard this or not. I have clients that work for really big corporations, and they've been told they're going to be working remotely at least through June of 2021.
Wow.
That they're not coming back. And I'm talking Google. I'm talking big companies. They're not bringing their people back into the workplace. And so a lot of my clients are starting to really get this is their new normal. Like they're going to be doing this. So let's structure your workouts into this remote working situation. Let's figure out how to not hit the pantry and the kitchen whenever you're bored or stressed, right?
Yes.
Because at first it was okay because they thought they eventually would go back in the office. Now they're realizing I'm not going back in the office, so now I really do need to figure out some different skills here.
Exactly. Wow. What a great interview. This is going so well. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. I know that so many people listening are going to relate to the weight loss side of it, but the truth is that this is a mentality for every area of your life right now.
Oh, absolutely.
For every area of your life. Well, I was going to tell you a surprise something.
Oh, yes. I like surprises. If they're good.
It's a good surprise.
Okay.
I'm actually writing a book on how to lose weight over 30 and through perimenopause and menopause.
Perfect.
And you know why I'm doing that?
Because it's been your lived experience and you have some expertise on it.
That. And do you remember when I was on your podcast, when I talked about perimenopause and menopause and weight loss, it was like a hot button. There's so many women out there, but I'm thinking if you're up to it, I might send you some of what I'm doing and you can read it and tell me what you think.
You're going to laugh. I'm like 2 or 3 weeks ahead on my YouTube videos. I've been turning a video out every single day. I think last week wrote one about perimenopause and weight loss because I've been in perimenopause now for the last 2 years and dealing with that and this whole process. And I thought about it because I do get people who ask me questions about that. So I actually did like a 10-minute long video where I explained how I realized I was in it, what my doctor did, my whole process, and kind of what that looked like.
Yeah.
And so, it's interesting because I think we've all built that up, to where we think we're somehow destined. Again, we're somehow, stuck, just like with this COVID thing. We're stuck accepting. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? Heck with this. COVID's happening. I'm in perimenopause. I'm losing this weight. And it was a really empowering thing for me. And I'm not even going to the gym, right? It's not like I can say it's because of my workouts. It's
right.
Like I'm working out in my garage. I mean, there's nothing fabulous or fancy there. But it's just like you choose. You get to choose what you want to make of your life. And I think a lot of us, as we get older, we just accept it as this is how it is. And I make the point, no, as long as you have oxygen in your lungs, as long as your eyes wake up to the new day, you always have choice.
Exactly.
And that's the thing I want every person to hear in this. It doesn't matter if you're 44, you're 54, whatever. You always have choice. And it's how you want to see yourself. It's how you decide to think about your thoughts. It's what actions you choose to take. And really it comes down to prioritizing yourself. My yoga teacher said something great one time. She said, menopause, it has the word pause in it, because she said that what the yogis believed is that was a time for a woman to put other people on hold and take care of herself.
Exactly.
To put everybody else on pause. Menopause.
And
because
if you
what
don't.
It is, yeah. Up until then, what do most women do? They cook for their family, they clean for their family, they work, they take the kids all these places, like literally go for everybody else.
Right.
That phase of your life should be a time to reflect on your health and taking good care of yourself and starting to kind of push back a little bit more and make more space for yourself in your own life. And it's a hard transition because, I don't know if you had this experience, but with menopause, I thought, man, I'm too young to be going through this. And
right.
and it turns out I'm not too young to be going through this.
No, we feel like it's for people who are aged, but no, it can start as early as 30 and sometimes before.
Absolutely. And what I realized in that whole scenario is that, it kind of sneaks up on women. Like I have this uncomfortable conversation with a lot of my weight loss coaching clients where I realize kind of their age. I see them struggling with their sleep. I see them struggling where they're 2 weeks late on their period. And I'm kind of like the person that gently has to bring it up, and I hate doing it, where I say, have you ever looked into perimenopause? Like, have you had your hormones checked? And I've had some people that it just goes deathly silent on the other end, as if I just told them, like,
you're old.
Yeah, and I feel guilt for doing it, but if I don't bring it up and they have no idea, right? And their moms and grandmoms didn't talk about it. So, like, if I don't say something, and this is truly a struggle point, then I feel guilt as their coach for not saying something. So I do. It's funny. I've had a couple now. They get real quiet. They don't say anything. They go actually talk to their doctor. They come back. That's exactly what it was.
Wow.
And I didn't know it. And what's funny is that transition is so hard to see.
Yeah.
It's so hard to read. It's a very, somebody gave a good example. They said, going through perimenopause, it's like somebody took the light dimmer switch and just started gently bumping it down to where your hormones. Whereas I think a lot of people think it's like an on-off switch. Like 1 minute you're having your cycle, everything's normal. The next minute, poof, it goes out like a light and it's dark.
Right.
And the example was, no, it's a very subtle, over basically a decade, your hormones are changing on you during that time period. And because they're changing, so is your sleep cycle, and all these other things are affected by it, but you could not even realize that's what's happening.
Exactly. Only for some of us, like me, it was like the devil had a hold of the dimmer. And but some people, but I do think that it really is a lot like that. Like we don't realize, and that's why I'm writing the book, because it's so funny. We all know, okay, when we get married, we're going to have babies. And so we educate. We're around it, we educate. But for some reason, perimenopause and menopause, there's not this education going on. And so what happens is we end up, okay, get ready for this, Heather, as a victim of this rather than being proactive, self-educating. It's a huge part of my book. Self-educate, do all the things that you can do to make it better. And I even have I'm working with a manufacturer. I will be having a product to help women with that.
That's awesome.
And then I tell some of my favorite products that are already made that help me through that. And it's really, really funny. I'm sure you can't even imagine that, but
I love it. And I'm hoping, I have looked at some books on that subject, and I will say a lot of times they're very dry. Like when I was pregnant, right, there were so many great books on like what to expect when you're expecting, and and it's more fun and lively and jovial and just like full of excitement. And then when girls are when they start their cycle, when they're teenagers, again, it's excitement, right? Like there's a lot of, but when you get to that stage of life, it's like in a way it could be embraced in a totally fun, it kind of in a way exciting phase, because there are some perks that do come from that. But it's not really delivered that way. And first off, the resources are minimal. Right. And secondly, the resources, a lot of them are done by doctors. So, I have not found a tremendous amount of them that I felt were easy reads or, in that same ilk. And I think that would be good for more women, because I think one, is not, again, something discussed typically generation to generation like it needs to be.
Right.
And two, I don't always think it's done in the way that would make people feel better about the situation.
And I'm trying, and as I'm writing it, I'm trying to... I'm really funny and I'm over dramatic about all the symptoms and blah, blah, blah. And then I do a disclaimer like, this does not happen to all women.
Yes.
This is my story. And if you're alive and breathing and you're 30, honey, get ready. It's coming, and it's probably at your back door right now waiting. So we must educate ourselves. And the reason, I think the main reason I deal a lot with mindset in it, because of, you'll understand when you read the first chapter, but as a little girl, some things happened that made me have this inner vision of who and what I was supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And then so that set me up from like 10, 11 years old. It set me up for this body dysmorphia, almost like a vision dysmorphia, where I'm supposed to look like this, but I don't have a size 2 body and I never will. So it was this lifelong process. I don't know, I'm really blessed. I've really put a lot of prayer and time into this, and I think if somehow God can help me to just get it all together and name it the right thing, we could really, really help some women with it.
That's awesome. Well, and what's funny is this topic actually ties into what we kind of started with. You said, this idea of empowerment, right?
Yes.
Where does empowerment come from? It comes from education.
Exactly.
Like if you understand something and it doesn't catch you off guard and you're prepared for it, you are so much better empowered to make your life the way you want, versus what's happening to me? Why am I having night sweats? What's going on with my body right now? Like if you're really in the dark on that, you may not make the best choices for yourself because you really aren't fully grasping the situation, right?
No.
But the more that women educate themselves on these things, and they really understand, and they say, okay, I'm getting that this is part of what I'm going through. What are my options? What is it I can start to change, whether it's diet, whether it's exercise, sleep, hygiene, whatever, medication, and really look at all your options. Immediately, you will feel better and more empowered than if you just feel like crud and you have no clue that any of this is really happening below the surface, and you just feel like you're constantly trying to keep up, right? And that's what we want to keep in mind as women. People always say to me, Heather, I get so frustrated with weight loss because I think I finally figured out what works for me, and then it doesn't. And I say, but you have to remember, unless you can pause time and you can make it to where you don't age beyond this point and everything stays the exact same in your lifestyle, which none of us can do, you will be forced to adapt and change, because that's the one constant. What's the one constant? Change.
Exactly.
It happens whether you want it to or not. If you're 40 now, when you're 60, your life will look different. You will be forced to change.
Exactly.
And when you can embrace and accept that and say, the way you currently eat and exercise might look different in 20 years, and you may need to alter what you're doing if you want to maintain a healthy body weight. You would have to accept that and just never feel like you have to be, that you're never going to be finished. There's no, unless you're dead, there's no off ramp, right? You're just continuously finding what works now in this stage of the game. Exactly. But as the game changes, you have to change. You don't get a choice.
Exactly. One of the things I love about writing the book and getting this information like the podcast out is that we don't have to then be caught in that scary place where you think you're crazy because you don't feel well or you're not losing weight and the doctor isn't helping you, but he's a doctor and he should know everything. Well, really, he's practicing. Okay, there's my soapbox. Anyway, it just self-education. So those of you listening today, I hope that you are realizing that you don't have to be a victim to COVID. You don't have to be a victim to perimenopause, and you definitely don't have to be a victim to weight gain through this time. You can make healthy, happy choices for you and your family. And Miss Heather, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on with us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for all the work you're doing to help so many women. That is awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you, Heather, and the work that you are doing. I am almost envious that you can reach so many women with your message, and I'm such a big fan, such a big supporter, and so thank you for all that you do.
Absolutely. And maybe what we can do is have you come on the show at some point, and because I know you're in the process of putting all this together, maybe we can talk a little bit more about it once you get it, kind of put together, to do like a menopause episode to help some people out.
That would be awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Well, Heather, how can the listeners join up? Maybe they want to join your Half Size Me community, or they want to connect with you. How can they reach out to you?
So they can reach me at halfsizeme.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Heather. I appreciate you. And I'm going to sign off now on the podcast. So if you want to tell the listeners goodbye.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. You take good care of yourself. And again, if anyone wants to find me at halfsizeme.com.
What a pleasure it was to have Heather Robertson of halfsizeme.com, the Half Size Me community, and the Half Size Me podcast on with us. What great information she has. If you need to lose weight and you need a tribe, you need a posse, you need some support, oh my goodness, go and check her out. Again, our greatest thanks to you, Miss Heather, for coming on the podcast. This is Julie Tussey telling you I love you, Jesus loves you, and remember, you only get one amazing, fabulous life, darling. Live it to the fullest. If you want answers to health problems other doctors couldn't solve, like hormone imbalance, fatigue, weight gain, and mood issues, go to Dr. Shannon Pierce and the Journey to Wellness. You can find her on Facebook. Again, you can find Dr. Shannon Pierce on Facebook. The Facebook page, Thyroid and Hormones Women's Support Group. Let them know Julie sent you. Dr. Shannon Pierce and The Journey to Wellness is an official sponsor of The Julie Tussey Show and the Grace Girls and Company podcast. Please go visit TusseyOnline.com. You'll find all of our products there. You'll find all of our music there. You'll find many of our videos there. And you will find the give and donate portion of this podcast right there. That's TusseyOnline.com. TUSSEY online.com. And don't forget to go over to YouTube and search Tussey Television to see all of the wonderful television programming that we are creating for you right now to enhance and make your life better. I'm here to empower you to fix what's broken in your life. Honey, you were not created to be ordinary, but you were created to be extraordinary. You were not created to be common, but you were created to be uncommon. You were not created to be average, but to be above average. I mean, you are remarkable, you are noteworthy, you are impressive, striking, outstanding, brilliant, excellent, superb, praiseworthy. Now, isn't that amazing? How many people tell you that? Only on the Julie Tussey Show. The Grace Girls and Company podcast and the Julie Tussey Show podcast are outreaches of The Voice Incorporated, a nonprofit ministry. If you would like to give an offering or become a monthly VIP Voice Impact Partner, please go to tusseyonline.com/give. That's tusseyonline.com/give. If you'd like to go to Venmo, you can go and look for The Voice INC, and also on the Cash App, the money symbol, The Voice INC. We thank you so much for your support, your partnership, your prayers, and your consideration in giving. Remember, all gifts are tax deductible.
If life is my oyster, darling, pass the hot sauce.
Everybody in here, put your hands in the air. Everybody in here, put your hands in the air. Come on, come on. Everybody in here, put your hands in the air. Everybody in here, put your hands in the air. Lift him up, Jesus. Lift him up, Savior. Lift him up, Healer. Lift him up, Redeemer. Everybody in here, put your hands in the air. Everybody in here, put your hands in the air. Come on, come on. Everybody in here, put your hands in the air. Everybody in here, put your hands in the air. Lift him up, Jesus. Lift him up, Savior. Lift him up, Healer. Lift him up, Redeemer. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Everybody in here, put your hands in the air. Everybody in here, put your hands in the air. Come on, come on. Everybody in here, put your hands in the air. Everybody in here, put your hands in the air. Lift him up, Jesus. Lift him up, Savior. Lift him up, Healer. Lift him up, Redeemer. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Everybody in here, put your hands in the air. Everybody in here, put your hands in the air. Everybody in here, put your hands in the air. Everybody in here, put your hands in the air. She fell down on her knees as she watched him drive away, crying, babies, no home, no food, no way. She felt the tug and turn to look into big brown eyes. Jesus loves us, mommy. It's gonna be alright. His mercy endures forever. His mercy endures forever. him to keep him one more night. The money wasn't worth this, no, where the cost is high. He felt the tug and turn to look into faded eyes. Jesus loves us, brother, it's gonna be alright. His mercy endures forever. His mercy endures forever, forever. She walked up to the altar, regretting her JTS. Broken dreams lay shattered, her hope was gone and past. She felt a tug and turn to look in forgiving eyes. Jesus loves you, darling, it's gonna be alright. His mercy endures forever. Ooh. His mercy